Neymar is already a superstar and Jesus, as one headline screamed rather amusingly yesterday, is also destined for great things. Add to that Philippe Coutinho and Brazil boast an attacking triumvirate potent enough to rip through even the sturdiest international defence. Gareth Southgate was clearly mindful of that when he prepared his side for this encounter, and he would be right to reflect with some satisfaction on England's success in stopping another world-class team from scoring here at Wembley last night. It would suggest that they are doing something right. Suggest that this bold switch to a back three, or a back five as it pretty much was for most of this contest, is now an approach he should stick with for next summer's World Cup. Philippe Coutinho and Gabriel Jesus are part of an extremely potent attacking triumvirate. Friendlies like this can create a misplaced sense of optimism, but England's manager still deserves credit for seeing enough in these young players to believe that they can handle such an occasion. John Stones has delivered two commanding displays at the heart of the defence, and Harry Maguire has grown in stature too. But last night Joe Gomez perhaps amounted to the greatest success, marking his first international start with a marvellously mature display against Neymar and the award for man of the match. It helped, of course, that some dazzling football by the South Americans was rather lacking in end product, the visitors managing just one effort on target in the opening 45 minutes. Neymar produced some wonderful touches, provoking a frenzied reaction from the visiting supporters every time he touched the ball, but he too fell a little short of his own high standards. Against an England side set up to contain rather than create, it must have proved a slightly frustrating night, even if it would be unfair to accuse England of failing to get into the spirit of an evening enhanced by the rhythmic samba beat of the delightful Brazilian band. The pair have eased the considerable burden on the shoulders of their main star Neymar. As Chris Waddle said on the BBC, a greater sense of ambition could have invited a proper hiding from one of the finest teams in the world, and right now that is not what Southgate needs, however much belief he has in his new recruits and a similarly new tactical approach. In truth, Southgate's pragmatism pointed to the reality of the situation, and the fact that he knows only too well that a gulf still exists between his England side and the international elite. Even in Brazil they are cautious, reluctant to look too far ahead to what their team might be capable of in Russia next summer given their more recent history. They might reflect fondly on the fifth and most recent time they won the World Cup, when the three Rs of Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and Rivaldo destroyed not just England but every team they encountered in Japan. But they also recall more ruefully how reality did not quite match their own high expectations when the magic quartet of Kaká, Ronaldinho, Robinho, and Adriano failed 4 years later in Germany. The last World Cup, and the 7-1 semi-final defeat to Germany, provided another painful lesson. Right now three-pronged attacks are very much en vogue, with European club football so often dazzled by the forward lines of Real Madrid and Barcelona. And in Neymar, Coutinho, and Gabriel Fernando de Jesus, to give him his full name, Brazil have a front line others should certainly fear after Tite initially experimented with Willian ahead of Coutinho. The Paris Saint-Germain forward and his teammates struggled, however, against England. In Tite, however, Brazil have a coach trying to strike a balance between flair and solidity, in recognition of the quality that exists in other parts of the world. There is France as well as Germany and Spain, not to mention to the two countries that can call on Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Seasoned Brazil watchers reckon Tite has settled on his team, with this how things will stay for the World Cup. Jesus will stay as the number 9, with Neymar and Coutinho deployed either side of the Manchester City forward. There is no denying Neymar remains the main man, but Tite likes the fact that Jesus and Coutinho have eased the considerable burden on their beloved No10. They are not just willing but able to take on the responsibility of scoring goals. Joe Gomez was part of a central defensive trio that should take some credit from their display. In Brazil they adore Jesus as much for that as for his daring and skill. They love him too for the fact that he is so humble and takes a call from his mum before every game, wishing him luck. In England too, though, some young favourites are now emerging as fast as the team is developing. Come next year's World Cup and there are sure to changes in personnel and the return of some of more established members of the squad. Not just Harry Kane and Dele Alli but midfielders like Adon Lallana. But the revolution that is taking place is at the back, and this performance provided Southgate with yet more evidence that England are now on the right track however dominant Brazil were in possession. The foundations for England have been laid, with goalless draws against Germany and Brazil enough to convince him that he has players who can execute his ideas. After the last two major tournaments that at least represents progress. There is still no doubting the firepower Tite's side possesses ahead of the 2018 World Cup. Related articles previous. 1 Next. Ruben Loftus-Cheek believes Chelsea definitely held him. Brazil legend Roberto Carlos believes scars of 2014 World. Dominic Solanke, Lewis Cook, and Angus Gunn could feature for. England boss Gareth Southgate set to start Joe Gomez against. Share this article. Share. 51 shares script dm.later, bundle, function, if, dm.rotator, new dm.rotator, p30, pages eyes, 1, page count, 1.0, active class, active, rotate, false, $, number p30.share, .on, click, function, dms.facebook.post related.